Can you check my critical post on your Reddit? So by read the critical thread that you made about me, what you actually mean is spend stream time reading 10 paragraphs. You know what? F it. Vaush is wrong about men. I'm not a leftist, but I'm curious about certain comments Twitter made recently. Contemporary leftism is polemically situated against heterosexual men. I disagree with this, which is a plausible explanation in order to understand why figures like Andrew Tate are fairly famous among young men. Vaush tends to depersonalize politics on the basis of structures, i.e. the patriarchy exists by itself as enforced through structures with non-conscious actors. This is a non-voluntaristic view of social relations, which is contradictory since Vaush's prescriptions are itself voluntaristic. What? I disagree. The social structures that influence us are added to consciously and unconsciously. We reinforce them in a variety of ways. But very, very often we don't know what the fuck we're doing. And I don't know what you mean when you say my prescriptions aren't in itself voluntaristic. Vaush argues young men are not Machiavellians that support red pill content because they want to dominate women, and the solution to this issue is talk to them and present leftist countermodels in order to attract them to the leftist cause. In this sense, this is an issue of mere political communication and not of structural hierarchies. What? I'm talking about using political communication as a way to most effectively spread our ideology and help people under the existing hierarchies. Ideally, if enough people believe in what we believe, the hierarchies would no longer exist as they currently do. Man, Pigeon will not stop screaming out there. Oh my god. Holy shit. Yet the issue is that if you assume the patriarchy exists and it's a system that positions certain men over women in the social hierarchies, you need to assume that at least a portion of males are going to fight to maintain those apparent privileges. Yes. What then is the pragmatic goal of the patriarchy? There is no goal of the patriarchy. Some people see it to be beneficial to them, or at least its outcomes align with the ones that they want, but there is no goal. It's a social structure that exists. This is the limit of political communication. This is the declarative moment of deciding who's your enemy. The limit of enmity being the physical elimination of the other, in which case feminism is possible because it's quite absurd to murder 50%. Okay, don't overthink yourself into a pit, man. Nobody's talking about killing 50% of anyone, and nobody's talking about the limit of enmity being it's just, there are social systems that we contribute to in knowing and unknowing ways, and if you want to change those social systems, you have to find effective ways at reaching people where they are. If you compare, then, patriarchy to capitalism, it'd be quite absurd to assume the bourgeoisie is going to surrender their privileges, no? No? Yeah, they want power? And if you don't believe this, then I invite you to explain the difference between patriarchy and capitalism in terms of domination. What? Capitalism is... Wait. Patriarchy is a social system. Capitalism is the economic model we exist under. Everybody agrees we exist in a capitalist system because it's definitionally the rules that people abide by when they participate within our economy. The patriarchy is a social tendency and a social structure that tons of people don't even believe in. It's a description of tendencies in our system. I guess you could say they're alike in the sense that they're both systems, but I guess a lot of things are that. You can argue feminism also benefits men. I believe this, which is what many leftists do in order to make feminism more digestible to guys, I suppose. Yes. But then there's an issue. If feminism is against the domination of men over women, then what are the social benefits that I gain as a man with the destruction of the patriarchy? Because social dominate... First of all, you can make an ethical claim even if it's not to your benefit. But if we're talking about you specifically, I can make an ethical claim, that is to say, even if you would benefit from the domination of women, it is still wrong to do so. And second, I can argue that it's not to your benefit. The domination of one group over another does not actually mean that they're doing better or are happier or anything of the sort. It doesn't necessarily lead to further utility. I mean, ethics would be like a pretty big selling point here, though. You could talk about political stability over equality. There is this Hegelian Marxist trick, oh no, which assumes the slave-master relation also degrades the master, but this is theoretical assumption not useful enough for social analysis. I'm not entirely sure what the point is here. Are you arguing like, I'm white, explain to me why it's to my benefit to not enslave black people? I don't understand. Are you negating like ethics as a like a focal point at all here? The idea that like men benefit from the social deprivation of women is absolutely not true. You can talk about toxic masculinity, all the shit that men suffer with right now, including virginity, something I assume you're still suffering from. It can, these things tend to be exacerbated by problems that we're having with inequalities between men and women. Now, excuse me if I sound sardonic, but should I give my apparent patriarchal privileges in order to feel emotionally better? What? Wait, hold on, real quick. Are you doing okay? Should I give up my apparent patriarchal privileges in order to feel, in quotes, emotionally better? Well, feeling good is an emotional thing. So, yeah. Like, so you think it's in my interest to do something because it will emotionally make me happy? Yeah, well, yeah. Probably a little bit. Yeah. I don't know what else you're trying to. What other better are we referring to here? In the cost benefit analysis, I think losing social privilege. What social privileges are you talking about losing, by the way? Because I don't talk about men losing anything. Equality for women isn't men losing anything, it's gaining stuff. Social roles and privileges aren't this like zero sum game where if women have some stuff that's shit, then guys get like some good stuff. Like it's not like women lose the pool table, men get the pool table. Um, it's like what social privilege are you referring to here? I think both men and women suffer from the patriarchy. I think that the ostensible social domination of men is the structure of the patriarchy, but it exists to the benefit of neither. You know, it's kind of like the Stanford prison experiment. You know, when they took those college students and made half of them pretend to be prisoners and half of them pretend to be guards. The guards were put in a position of privilege over the prisoners, but they weren't. The guards weren't better off than they were before the experiment. Like they lost something by even entering the experiment. The system in which they were in was mutually detrimental, even if they were given a system of privilege or a position of privilege within it. I think losing social privileges in order to have the ability to wear makeup, cry, and use skirts is silly and based on ideological authenticity, which I don't buy. I don't know if you understand the pieces on the table. A valid counterargument to my claims would be the question of the existence of males that are feminists. A common response to the argument would be that of stupidity, i.e., male feminists are stupid because they don't know what they're going against their privileges. Yet, I don't think this is true. Male feminists exist because they gain benefits as a result of their feminism. One punctual example is that of academia, not a bi. I don't know what to make of this entire thing because you don't seem to be including like ethics into your consideration, which makes me think that this entire thing is like a moral jerk off bit that doesn't like correspond to reality. Um, so my prescriptions are these. First of all, uh, think about these things harder, and second of all, bring it down to 5 lines, and we're good. I know what the issue is. This guy thinks that everyone. It's the issues in terms. The gulf of understanding here is a product of the person who wrote that post having a fundamentally broken understanding of both the systems at play here and of themselves. And it will take years of growth and maturity for them to understand, hopefully, uh, what needs to be done. Maybe, or maybe they come around faster. I don't know. They could be 12. It's hard to know. That guy posting the Destiny sub a lot. That's it. No wonder your brain's soup. Jesus. God, there we go. Okay, and what was this thing that was linked? Can we please admit while Vaush is making good points, his optics could be better? Don't get me wrong, I love his stance in the current discourse. I'm very happy as well. But even if you ignore the fact that misogynistic jokes weigh much more than misandrist jokes and that they're not equal, his jokes are just going to drive puritanical leftists towards not taking male discourse seriously. I understand that no matter what Vaush says, these woke scolds are going to attack him no matter what. But for someone who talks a lot about optics, he definitely has room to improve in the current discourse. The optics thing is definitely like, I mean, you should always try to be perfect. I've never said that I am perfect. I guess the main issue for me is that I don't know. I guess I feel like my incentive to care about my optics with the rest of the left are really bad right now because it feels like I never get a break from them anyway. You know, like I was getting the death threats when all I said was we should take men's issues seriously. Afterwards, I made a joke about a woman being hysterical because she threatened to punch me, and then like that became the focus. It feels like it's an environment where literally anything I say is gonna. I don't know what the good. I feel like whatever good optics is to the left, it just has to not be me. Like by blood, like by face and name, I'm like crossed out of good optics with the left, and I can focus on other groups, like being good optics with like moderate progressives or centrists or the right way, like literally any other group, you know. In terms of a like puritanical disavowal of me, the left is more hateful than any other group, up to and including neo-Nazis, when it comes to me. As in, I've seen more neo-Nazis go, huh, Vaush, he's so retarded and gay and Jewish, but like, huh, he was pretty funny here, I guess I'll watch. Than I have seen like Twitter woke scolds go, wow, he's really problematic, but I guess he makes some good points. I'll give it a listen. I actually see the former happen more than the latter. not to say that the Nazi is better than the woke scold for that. I'm just talking about like willingness to, break the mold and listen to what I'm saying. Um, I don't know. I mean, probably yeah. There is another thing that's worth pointing out though, that I don't talk about that much, and it's called the cuck meter, or I guess maybe the cuck threshold, or possibly the cuck breaking point. Um, you know, which is that at any given point in time, this line right here is how cucked I can feel before it all shuts down. Um, and when a bunch of lefties are screeching at me and saying horrible things about me, and then I want to make a funny joke that's kind of sexist, and I think, oh, I shouldn't do that. The optics, the cuck meter goes up. I feel like more of a cuck, and if it ever goes too far, then that's it, man. It's all over. So we have to be careful about that. I try my best to keep it down. I feel like I'm pretty uncucked, broadly, generally speaking. I feel like I've spent my entire career doing basically anything that I want. I feel pretty uncucked. But I agree that like the ideal version of me would be like perfectly capable of of like avoiding. But yeah, I don't know. Isn't this literally toxic masculinity? Well, first of all, I have never claimed to not be toxic in some fashions, masculinity-wise. But second of all, I don't really think so. It's more like it just feels like such a foregone conclusion, you know? Vaush, you say you're autistic, then you act very human. Yeah, that's my anti-ableism bent right there. I try to show you guys that autists are real people too. I've tried Schadenfreude, it just doesn't work. It doesn't do what I need. Don't you think it makes it harder to defend men's issues activism as not misogynistic when the misogynistic jokes come out on the discourse? I just don't know how much of a difference there's going to be. I don't know how much of a difference there is at all, really. Past a point, it just feels like respectability politics. Like, there was a Jezebel article, literally written yesterday, where they were talking about this discourse and Andrew Tate and everything. And look at this paragraph just inserted into the middle like a stamp by the spiteful editors. I cannot stress enough. This is my tweet right here. Said Vaush, popular leftist streamer on Tuesday. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't. Probably not entirely surprisingly, but Vaush has a well-documented history of online misogyny, including appearing to joke about sexually harassing women. Like, look at that. Like, literally in the middle of an article that is otherwise about, like, this. It's a Jezebel article, and it's like, here's something Vaush tweeted. Of course, he is a piece of shit misogynist, so whatever. And then it just goes on from there. They only included that because the person who wrote that hates me. And like all the death threats that I was seeing after just saying we should take men's issues seriously, and people saying like that was me defending rape. There is a point past which you have to be it's the cuck meter. We all have to respect the cuck meter. I've already done that, Lucchini. Doesn't work. Thank you though. Yeah. What constitutes a death threat? Pillock, are you retarded? Yeah. You got to respect the cuck meter. Anyway, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean this person is wrong or whatever. It's just like I'm trying to think of like I don't know. I feel like it's okay. Oh, did you, Tempest? Well, there you go. I wouldn't want to go to Iowa anyway. Like I guess I make jokes about men being like emotional. I don't know. I guess I feel like we make these kind of jokes broadly, don't we? Well, if somebody approached me and they were like, "Hey, you try to deconvert people from the alt-right, right? Well, then don't you think it hurts your advocacy somewhat that you make some jokes that are like, haha, I like to men, but I think they're annoying? Don't you think that might put them off?" And then I guess my answer to that might be like, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like I'd feel pretty cucked right now if I didn't do that. I don't know if not making the women being hysterical joke in that specific context is passing the cuck threshold. I mean, it's kind of my cuck threshold, right? But did it change the behavior or the disposition? I guess what I would need to see is any capacity for people on the online left to exhibit a difference in their behavior between me when I'm completely correct and not edgy versus me when I'm completely correct and a bit edgy. And if the online left could demonstrate that there's a difference in how they respond to those two versions of me, then I might care more. Yeah, but it's not going to happen because like if it did happen, then they only would have gotten mad after the hysteria comment and not at the original stuff. Which yeah, it is definitely like yeah, I don't know. Baby, you are so right. Can we please get to Halo? Ah, you think I'm that easy to play off, huh? Was Greta's small dick joke misinterest? No, at least not consequentially so. Neither was your hysteria joke. Yeah, well, yeah, well, people were talking about the Greta dick joke because the left always does this. The left always takes some like hyper ultra micro. Vaush, why do you care so much about being cucked? Senior Pool, if you enjoy my content, the only reason I am what I am is because I have such a strong aversion to backing down to other people when I think I'm in the right. I could not possibly exist as I do today without the cuck meter in my brain. Um, you all appreciate that. You all complain when the cuck meter drives me to act, you know, maybe a little too egotistically, and that's that's valid. Don't get me wrong. But it is a part of my character, and I obviously, if you like my content, you probably enjoy the fact that I have a pretty principled stance on most of the stuff that I believe. I'm pretty willing to burn bridges over disagreements, except with Shu. She's a girl. No, we did that too. Yeah. I think a lot of this is marginal. It is true that the closer you get to perfection in terms of the delivery of your message, the harder it is and the less productive it is to make it better. Yeah, I don't know. I'll give it a looks off. Thank you. I'll put this up in a tab. Vosh, I feel like your threshold for feeling cucked is unreasonable in the context of that thread. Do I think you're being genuinely misogynistic? No, obviously not, but it's just so easy to not make edgy comments with that with the worst possible timing. Well, you say worst timing, but to me, it didn't change the outcome. So I don't know how much worse it is than anything else. It's not like I care about people in the left freaking out about me. If I did, then I would just sit in my pod and never say anything, right? You have to have a tolerance for that. I mean, if you wanted to get really like particular about it, you could say that deliberately driving engagement by being a little bit controversial in ways the left abhors, but other people don't think is that serious, could be a way of driving attention to the channel. I don't really think of it that way when I'm beefing with people 100th my size, not even 100th, nobody's on Twitter. Um, but it's definitely a valid analysis of the behavior. At any rate, it's I don't want to get deep in the weeds on here. Obviously, I apologize for nothing. But I don't mind criticism. I think that's fair. I wish Vosh would stop being a little bitch boy when it comes to his handling the optics of his responses. He acts like a son whenever someone criticizes him. Okay, come on. As always, my subreddit has to take a good thing too far. You cannot compare me to Hassan when it comes to being criticized. Come on. Come on. What standard are we setting here? Yes, the way Vosh turned his head dismissively during that conversation was very Hitler-esque. I could never I could never reach Hassan's heights when it comes to the inability to receive criticism. Um you do drink water though? That's true. He's gonna ban everyone here while saying they're only. Oh my god. You guys do understand that I don't do community purges anywhere near as much as like a lot of content creators. Destiny bans from his chat way more often than I do. Literally thousands of bans for people making fun of him for his league plays, okay? Hassan and his mod team have literally excommunicated my massive community from theirs. In comparison, I would be willing to bet that in terms of the number of bans I dish out, it's probably like a tenth, maybe a fifth in that ballpark. Legitimately, like it's insane how big the difference is. But people, man, sometimes people in my community they really act like it's yeah. As for the subreddit, I only look. It says right here, number 8 on the subreddit, the Vaush clause. For those of you who don't know, the Vaush clause is that I can ban anyone for any reason for any length of time, no matter what, with no explanation. It's part of the subreddit rules, and I've only done that like 3 times. And by done that 3 times, I mean I've only done waves 3 times, not individual instances 3 times. So it's not 3 people; it's more like 300. Anyway, he made a good point. He said it's like when his friend came making inside jokes around people that he just met always make people uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not really with friends here, right? But here's a good time that one time Destiny told chat that his biggest fear was getting Alzheimer's. I think it's because his mom has it or his dad or some family member has it. A chatter told him, "You told the story half an hour ago." A Pogo and Destiny banned him. Yeah, for those good jokes, Imagine if I banned you guys for good jokes. Um, Good joke, Pogo. Um, Amazing viewpoints and arguments on so many subjects, but he just cannot stop himself from sounding like a dick sometimes. One of the things that makes me chafe a little bit here is that I feel like if a sane person went over the thread in which I made the hysteria joke, it would be so obvious that I was in the right. I made my initial thread, which was completely correct, uncontroversial, and not combative. That woman quote tweeted saying I was defending rape. I accused her of not understanding feminist theory. She said that she wanted to punch me in the face. I said, so this is what they mean when they say women are hysterical. The conversation went on from there, and it ended with her saying she wanted me dead and lynched, and that all men are innately guilty by virtue of their sex. So in this context, for the conversation to be, well, you called her hysterical, is like, again, like, you know, it's like, okay, well, as a public figure, you should always be careful, even if you're in the right. It doesn't necessarily matter. But it's like, oh my God, you know, I feel like if you gave any like normal person that thread, like I guess printed out or something, and they were looking at it, they would be like, wow, that bitch is crazy. Like 99% of people would say that. So maybe, you know, I'm selling the optics to a slightly different demographic, um, you know, but you know, I get it. Isn't it strange to read meta-analysis of yourself from a third-person perspective? You get used to it. It can be a bit weird, but I get it. I don't blame any of you guys for doing it, by the way. Like, again, it's one of those, like, well, if you were perfect, what would you do things? And, you know, no, it's fine. I'm not mad at anyone here. Except for the person who compared me to Hassan when it comes to not being able to take criticism. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we ride or we die. Content drought, where's Logan? Pellic, every day you're not banned from my chat is a gift to you. I hope you know that. The fact that I remember and recognize your name is not a good thing. And you're a white name. You think I won't? Holy shit, that water's good. I fucking love water, dude.